Hi everyone, and today I'm going to do a video on some of my top tips for managing tics. So the first thing I want to talk about is Epsom salts. Epsom salts are made of magnesium, and these can be put in your bath and they can reduce the severity of motor tics. For example, when I had really bad stomach clenching tics, I would run a warm bath and put the Epsom salts in and it would calm the tics. And I know that not everyone has access to a bath. In this case, you can use a foot bath because the magnesium will still absorb into your skin, and to do that, it will decrease inflammation and sort of detox anything that might be triggering tics. So magnesium can be really helpful because some people do take magnesium oral supplements. However, not everyone can do this because they might have absorption difficulties, or they might have difficulties with an imbalance of gut bacteria, because sometimes if you take magnesium supplements it can feed the unhealthy bacteria if you have a problem with that. So using Epsom salts is a good way to bypass the digestive tract. The second thing I wanted to talk about is removing scented products from the house. Quite a lot of people with Tourette's find that strong scented products can worsen their tics. For example, air fresheners, scented candles and things along those lines, because it can trigger sensory overload and your brain will pick up on this and it can make you tic more. So for example, for me, certain perfumes do trigger my tics quite a lot. The third thing I wanted to talk about is chewing gum. Some people find that their vocal tics decrease when they chew gum, and this is something that really helped me, because in maths class my tics were always really a lot more severe, because maths was a massive tic trigger for me. So I would chew gum in class. I was given permission and I would chew gum and it would really help because it was given the sensory input in my mouth that I needed. And I know this isn't an option for everyone, because I wouldn't recommend chewing gum if you have sudden breathing tics, because obviously you do not want to inhale gum. That will end very badly. But if you know that you don't have breathing tics, then it should be fine. And the fourth thing I want to talk about is chewy gems. This is one of my chewy gems, and what it is basically a silicone thing that you can bite on. And for me, it helped with certain tics, especially biting tics and stuff like that. And sometimes if I was anxious, I would also chew on my finger, so that helped with that as well. So chewy gems you can get on the Chewy Gem website or Amazon, but there are other chew necklaces that you can look at as well. And there's a website in the USA called Stimtastic that does a lot of chew necklaces that can be very useful as well. But you can find a wide variety of them on Amazon. The next thing I want to talk about is coloured overlays. As I said, I think in my last video, that some people find that reading can trigger their tics due to the light triggering visual distortions, and this can be called Irlen syndrome or visual stress. And some people find by using an overlay that's specifically coloured to them, it can help their reading ability and reduce their tics whilst reading. Next thing I wanted to mention is playing an instrument or doing something creative. Quite a lot of people find that when they play an instrument or sing or do something creative or sometimes do some sport, their tics might decrease because of how we're focusing on it. And I know this doesn't work for everyone, but for me personally, I did notice that if I'm singing, I wouldn't tic as much. And that was quite helpful for me as well. Another thing that's really important if you have Tourette's is to have a friend to talk to. So for me, I had a really good group of friends at my high school, and they were really supportive of me, because if I'd have to leave class, if, for example, I was having really severe tics or something, my friends would sometimes come with me and they would just look after me. And it was really important to have such a supportive group of friends, and I'm really grateful for that. And also it's really helpful to have a friend to talk to as well, because when I was struggling with self-doubt and stuff, I'd speak to my friends, and luckily they were really understanding. And if you don't have a supportive group of friends, then I do recommend going to a support group, and you can meet others with Tourette's who will understand what you're going through. The next thing I want to talk to, again, I've just mentioned that quickly there, but go to support groups, or if you can't, then you can talk to others online on things like Facebook groups or maybe Instagram pages and stuff like that. So I do think it's really important to talk to others with Tourette's, so that you know you're not alone, and so that you know that other people with Tourette's can be really successful and stuff. And it's just amazing the friends you can meet at Tourette's groups and stuff. I go to quite a couple of Tourette's groups. I go to one that's about a 2-hour drive away from my house. I go for one that's an hour drive away, and I go to like a Tourette's weekender camp that's about a 6 or 7 hour drive away. But it is definitely worth it. I've met my best friends there, so it's really good. Also, avoid common trigger foods. Some people with Tourette's have trigger foods, and it's most commonly allergens or maybe artificial things like food dyes and stuff. And I know not everyone has this, But for me, I'd probably say that you might want to reduce food dyes and sweeteners and stuff like that, because for some people they can be a massive tic trigger. They are for me. However, I do know people who don't react to them at all. For example, one of my best friends from Tourette support groups, they don't react to food dyes or anything artificial at all. So it really is about finding what works for you. The next thing is deep pressure and weighted blankets and stuff. Some people find that using deep pressure can help their proprioception sense, and this can decrease tics because your body learns where it is. And some people also say that weighted blankets can help them get to sleep. Although not everyone can use these, because sometimes it can make you too hot, which can worsen tics, and for other people they just feel trapped. But some people, deep pressure can help. Also, this links to the next thing: avoid getting too hot and maybe use a fan or an air conditioner, because for quite a lot of us, being like too hot can be overwhelming. It can trigger tic attacks, or it can trigger just explosions of severe tics and stuff. And for me, this was quite a big issue, because if it was like a really hot day in summer or something at my school, I just have to stay in the pupil support centre because I'd be ticking so much. And I also remember I once ended up on the floor from ticking so much because it was too hot. So definitely have a fan or something like that so you can cool down. And I know for some people it's the other way around as well. Some people might find that when it's too cold they might tick more, and then if that's the case, then you should probably make sure the heating's on or something like that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is padded gloves and padding and stuff. So for me, I used to have a really horrible tic where I'd hit my chest really, really hard, and it was a really severe tic as well, because I was once in the pupil support centre and I was hitting my chest really hard here, and the Senko came in from her office next door and said, "What's that noise?" And she realised it's actually me banging my chest. You could hear it from the office next door because it was so hard. And I had to go for an ultrasound because they found a lump here, and obviously we're really scared about it and stuff. We thought it was something serious, but then it turned out it's literally just scar tissue from where I ticked so much and hit myself, which obviously I'm really grateful because it's nothing serious, and if it was, then I wouldn't be very happy, but I'm really grateful that it's nothing. But hitting yourself can still take a toll on your body and stuff. So what I used these gloves. It's like a padded glove, and you can type into Amazon fingerless boxing gloves and it can come up, and this is just the one I used. It's a bit old now, you can see it's kind of rubbing away, but that's one I used for quite a few years, and it did really help because it reduced the impact on my chest and stuff like that. The next thing that I wanted to mention is something like heated products or heated neck pillows and stuff like that, because quite a lot of us have neck jerking tics, and they can become quite painful if you do it over and over again. So some people find that heated products can be quite helpful for reducing the pain from that. And also audiobooks. Audiobooks don't reduce the tics. However, I know that some of us with Tourette's have difficulty reading, and I did especially, because my OCD would make me read the same sentence or words over and over again, and also I had a tic where I'd have to try and rip out the pages, which obviously wasn't very good. So audiobooks can be really, really useful for some of us with Tourette's and tic disorders. The next thing is humour. For me personally, when I tic something funny, I don't mind my friends laughing because they're laughing with me and not at me. And my dad always taught me that humour is a good way to deflect the tension. So, for example, if I was having severe tics or something, my dad would just try and make jokes and lighten up the situation. It actually did help because it did deflect the tension and put my mind on something else. So sometimes using humour as a coping mechanism can actually work, because for me, if I tic something funny, me and my friends would just laugh about it, because you could either laugh and see it as something that's quite funny, or get really embarrassed and upset about it, and I just laughed about it, and that was the best way for me to deal with that. The next thing I want to talk about is, if you have a tic where you throw pens, then it can help to tie your pen to your wrist. Because for me, my teachers always got used to pens flying around the classroom, because I would literally just throw them as a tic, completely involuntary, and they just go flying across the classroom. So sometimes you might have to tie them to your wrist or something. And I also had a tic where when I was writing, I would stab the pen into the paper, but unfortunately with my biros, the nib just went into the pen, so I broke about 20 pens in a row. So I eventually had to use a laptop, and so laptops can be really helpful as well for some people. However, I did once have a tic where I smashed a laptop on the floor and broke it. That wasn't great, because laptops are usually like that, but I banged it on the floor involuntarily and it just fell. So obviously that wasn't great because it was quite expensive and I just ruined it. Whoops. And the last thing I want to talk about in this video is create an accepting environment. So for me, one of the best things that helps me with my Tourette's is just being in an environment where everyone accepts me. And luckily my school was really, really supportive. pretty much all the teachers were supportive apart from one, and all my friends were really, really supportive. And if anyone ever bullied me or anything, all my friends and people in my year group would stick up for me, and I'm so grateful for that, because I know not everyone has that, but I was so lucky that I was around people who understood. And to do this, like, you can maybe do an assembly on Tourette's, which is what I did. You can do Tourette's awareness sessions. You can, if you can't do it yourself, you might be able to get someone in, either from a small business who does Tourette's consultancy, or maybe a doctor if they can, or maybe someone from a Tourette's organisation, or someone from the Tourette's community. If you have a friend with Tourette's, they can come in and do it. So yeah, that can be some really good ways to raise awareness as well. And for me, I found that I had an issue with like substitute teachers, because they don't always understand Tourette's, because I don't always know I have it. So what I did was I wrote, it was kind of a little letter I wrote. Hi, I'm Romy, I have Tourette syndrome, this is what it makes me do. And I explained it in a little letter, and then before the lesson I'd give it to the substitute teacher, and they'd quickly read it and they'd say, okay, cool. And then that's how they realised I had Tourette's and started to understand. Because it was sort of like I gave instructions. I said like what Tourette's is, and then I said, please don't punish me, I can't control it, I don't choose what I take, and everything like that. So sometimes it can be useful to maybe have a little letter on standby to give teachers if needed. So yeah, I hope this video helps some people, and I know different things work for different people, but hopefully this gave you some ideas of things you might be able to try, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!